Thanks, Nadeem. So I just want to start off by sharing with you guys some headlines. So WikiLeaks forced to shut down after the government blocked their bank accounts. And Apple getting caught actively tracking and recording iPhone users' location data. And more recently, Facebook selling user data to Cambridge Analytica. So mind you, these are only 3 headlines. How many times have centralized organizations breached the trust and privacy of their users? And how many times has private user data become the product that these platforms could sell without our consent? And how many times have these platforms completely undermined our right to freedom of speech online? And I want you all to consider, what if we could completely cut out the third-party organizations and the middlemen that are constantly breathing down our necks every single time we're online? And what if we could create applications that were completely unstoppable by anyone and anything? Enter decentralized applications. So also known as dApps, these are essentially pieces of open source software that leverage blockchain technology, which is a distributed ledger technology, and in this way, it can operate in a way that is completely decentralized and also financially incentivized. So this allows for 2 things. Number 1, dApps never die. So dApps are really hard to take down for the reason that they live on a distributed ledger network. And so you have to take down or hack into 50% plus 1 of all of the nodes on the network in order to be able to take down a dApp, which is pretty much impossible to do if we consider like how huge these networks are today. And so furthermore, if you compare these dApps today to the centralized hosting servers that most of the online services rely on today, you can see that these centralized servers are actually really sensitive to going under after one single attack because they're centralized. And furthermore, they also enable and facilitate easier censorship online. And so that takes us to point 2. dApps never lie. Because they're not owned by any single third-party organization, and because they're open source. And so because of this, all interactions between the user and the dApp are actually automated through code in the smart contract, which is the back-end code of the decentralized application. And so since all of these interactions are automated, when users are interacting with a decentralized application, they have the complete peace of mind that none of their actions are being monitored or recorded by any third-party organization. And furthermore, another reason why dApps don't lie is because they themselves hold monetary value. They themselves can hold cryptocurrency. So unlike with normal applications, whenever you have a transaction with the application, it's actually a middleman that's transferring the value through the medium of the application to the user. However, when you're having a transaction with a decentralized application, the value moves directly between the application and you, because all of this is automated through a smart contract. So just to show you a little bit of a clear understanding of how it all works, I'm going to demonstrate the structure of a decentralized application. It's actually pretty similar to a normal application. So it starts off with a user interface. So the user is going to submit a request through their screen. So that could be clicking a button or winning a game or sending a request for a transaction. And then that request is going to be forwarded to the client API. And the client API is just going to manage all of these requests, and it's going to push it forward to the blockchain client. And so the blockchain client, you can consider it as a node. So essentially what it does is that it actually goes into the smart contract in the back end of the decentralized application, and it's going to call or send a message to one of the functions in the smart contract that are related to the request that the user sent. And so that's going to be pushed to the actual blockchain network itself. And the network is going to process a transaction on the ledger, and this is going to allow you to actually execute the code in the smart contract. And the result of all of this execution is going to be pushed all the way back to the user, who's going to see the new information pop up on their screen. And so to give you a better look at how it actually looks like when you're interacting with a decentralized application, I'm going to be showing you a demo of a decentralized application that I developed myself. And it's essentially a casino, a gambling decentralized application. So it allows you to gamble with Ether, which is the cryptocurrency of the Ethereum network. So this is how it works. Basically, I start off by entering the amount of Ether that I want to bet. and then I'm just gonna check my wallet to make sure that I have sufficient funds to gamble. And afterwards, I'm gonna select and bet on the number that I want to bet on, which is 7. And then afterwards, the wallet sends me a notification that I've asked for a transaction. And so I'm gonna confirm the transaction. And then afterwards, basically what happens is we're at the blockchain network phase of the decentralized application right now. So it's gonna actually process a transaction in order to be able to execute the code. And afterwards, we see that the number of bets has incremented, and also the amount of ether in the betting pool has also incremented. And so after all of the users are done inputting their bets, the user that has betted on the correct number will automatically receive the entire pool of funds that all of the other players have inputted. So that's just one example of how you could use or develop a decentralized application. So as of right now, there's still many problems with dApps. So for example, as you've seen before, it's actually pretty difficult to use. It's not super user-friendly because there's a lot of extra things that you have to download, for example, the wallet, because there's not enough infrastructure. And furthermore, there's also the issue of scalability, which is essentially a community-wide problem, and it's a protocol-level problem. And basically what it means is that, for example, the Ethereum network, which is the mother platform of dApps right now, it can only process around 15 transactions per second. And this is super slow, because what if you have, for example, an Instagram that's like a dApp version of Instagram on top of the Ethereum network? That's like millions and millions of users on top of a network that can only process 15 transactions per second. That's impossible. However, this doesn't mean that all of these problems constitute an actual barrier for dApps to become the future of all of our online interactions, because the blockchain space is evolving. The blockchain space is evolving at a pace that is absolutely exponential. And so there are constantly new platforms that are emerging, and all of these new platforms offer different solutions to the problem I just talked about. And so if we think about this, in the next 5 to 10 years, all of the centralized organizations and the centralized platforms online today could possibly be replaced by decentralized platforms and decentralized applications. So the next time that we use any application, and the next time we go online, we won't ever have to fear that our user data is being compromised. And furthermore, all of these dApps have solutions to the problems that so many real-life industries are facing today. For example, supply chain, healthcare, and government. And dApps have the solutions that these industries need. Thank you.